Hi there, I'd like to welcome you to my new channel, Nostalgia Cruiser and Jonathan's Sword Discovery. I'm Jonathan Courtney. Thank you for tuning in. I'm really happy to finally get this channel going after many years. I'm a long-time original scholar and researcher in historical arms and armor, researcher, designer, and other forms of contemporary and fantasy arms and armor, historical martial arts, military history, and many other closely related topics. And I'm honestly years and years behind my time, both in hopefully establishing myself as well as getting this channel established. The reasons behind that are numerous and varied, and this is both a proper introduction. I wanted it to be sort of a vindication for myself to sort of go back on a little bit of that. But effectively, I'm glad to have finally got this channel going so that I can share what I've been spending many years, really close to about 30 years now, which is extraordinarily long amount of time, not no small amount of time by any standard, in this passion of mine, and hopefully passion of many of yours too. Whether you're new to the hobby, industry, or the topic of arms and armor, swords, and martial arts and the like, or you're a long-time veteran yourself, hopefully this channel will have something of interest for everyone as I go into depth, hopefully on many different interesting things about the subject and share my passion with you, and as well as some knowledge I've gained along those many years. For starters, initially I was among the first to actually begin what's now called HIMA many years ago, going all the way back to the 90s, but never was able to properly establish myself for a number of reasons. I ran a small private school which went well for a number of years before that went on long-term hiatus. I still do some unofficial demonstrations, certainly lectures and talks, especially with some historical groups and some living history sites here in the mid-Atlantic, mainly where I'm based, and occasionally we'll give some demonstrations and classes too, but I haven't properly taught at my original school or in any kind of extensive manner in a good 15 years or so, but hopefully in the near future I may start again. Was formerly a professional bladesmith and swordsmith for some years, but also for some of the same reasons stopped doing that around the same time 15 years or so ago. But again, hopefully in the near future that might come back to life again as other life commitments and things get sorted out. I had some long-term health issues for a while, which are still ongoing, and some personal issues, so collectively overall that had some things to do with it, or a lot to do with it really. Additionally, I've been a scholar and a student myself, still ongoing for all these many years, and it never fails to lose fascination and pleasure in the study of arms and armor, swords, martial arts, and fencing, and all those topics that go so closely together. It's been an ongoing thing for me, and I'm hoping with this channel I can finally start to share some of those things that hopefully will find very interesting to others as well. During these many years, I've also conducted a lot of original research in various aspects, and again, this is going to be a test video, right? Definitely not the finished thing, but yes, so in doing that, I focus on a lot of more unusual or uncommon weapon types and things like the anatomy of slightly different swords and things such as their blade forms and pommels and guards and things, and how they can be used in slightly different ways depending on the culture and time period, even if it's basically known like an arming sword. Focus on slightly different ways the more unusual forms can be used, based on using historical references and my own experimental archaeology. So that's one broad but unique factor I focus on. I'll definitely be putting into many videos with many examples in the upcoming future, and the same applies to other weapons forms, pole arms, impact weapons, and various other things, both the more straightforward kind, and again, as I said, those more unusual types with their many unique little different anatomical features and how they can be used. So that's something I'll focus on, including many details I think that couldn't or wouldn't occur to most individuals, including other researchers in the field, which is why I think it's so extra interesting and hopefully will be stimulating to others. In that same vein, one of my other main things involves a secondary form of essentially HEMA, historical European arts, which I actually do based not on the treatises, but focusing on forms that don't have a direct correspondent or analogy in the historical treatises, certain weapon forms which I've researched, but using more established HEMA, which I also taught, the various disciplines, be they Talhofer for longsword, or Meyer, or pole arms under the Bolognese system, or what have you, for weapons that don't have, or variations that don't have a corresponding. I've developed in-depth systems over the years and have taught them in the past that focus on these things and use partial historical references, including some Eastern others, to develop my own systems for that. So these are historically inspired disciplines rather than fully historical ones. But I make that distinction very clear, which is what's important, and I hope the end result, which has certainly been in the past from some of my students, well received, and you'll see how interesting and useful those various techniques and disciplines are that I've developed with those. And for that being probably the second more specialized thing, I've devoted my time and years on. The third one, of course, being when I said alternative weapons and armor, meaning what some people call functional fantasy, after the form of the Lord of the Rings films and others, which I actually began designing similar things as far back as that and many years before. I've dedicated to develop complex and unique weapons or variations of historical patterns, but with a fantasy or alternative historical notion in mind. So in some cases with slight but unique variations to historical forms, in other cases very different forms, but all basing at least always partly on historical or practical world forms with unique end results, both in the functional shape and forms and in the aesthetics and the visual appeal too. So that's something I've devoted many years to, and again, coming up with some very normally not thought of forms and inspirations that I think again would not occur to very many, and largely because of that I hope they'll be found to be very interesting and stimulating, and I'll probably have a platform either here with the channel or somewhere else in the future to link some of that online, some places where I will showcase or at least share some of my work online. I'll do a link and some exposés relating to that in future videos. So overall, again, this has gone fairly well, but this is a test for my long and proper intro. Finally, after so many years, I'm glad to finally have this channel up so I can finally share, what I've been doing for all this long time, and hopefully make some small but positive contribution that others with the same passion I do will find interesting, and even the casual observer will get some good benefit out of this too, hopefully for many years to come. So for now, I hope if you please hit the like button, like and subscribe to my channel so you can follow and stick along with it, as you can see updates and other social media links that I'll hopefully add in the future, and we can go from there. So much to look forward to very near future. John's Sword Discovery and Nostalgia Cruiser, Jonathan Courtney here, or John the Raven, which will be my more common moniker, and we will see you soon. Until next time, much more coming. Bye-bye.